There is something being stolen from you every single day. Not your money, not your time. Something far more valuable than both. Your attention. And the most dangerous part, you are handing it away voluntarily. Every argument you entered that meant nothing. Every person you explained yourself to who had already decided. Every insult you responded to. Every critic you acknowledged. Each one cost you something you can never recover. And you did not even feel it leaving. There was a man who studied power more honestly than almost anyone in human history. He did not write about how power should work. He wrote about how it actually works. Niccolo Machiavelli sat in Florence and watched the most powerful men in the world rise and collapse. And he noticed something that contradicted everything people believed about strength. The loudest men fell first, the ones who responded to every accusation, who defended themselves against every critic, who chased respect instead of commanding it. They exhausted themselves performing strength, and in doing so, revealed their weakness. But the men who withdrew, the men who sat in silence while others screamed, they became untouchable. Because silence is not emptiness. Silence is a message. It says, you do not exist at the level I operate on. And no insult ever delivered in words hits harder than that. Let me show you what happens inside someone's mind when you simply stop acknowledging them. This is where it gets deeply unsettling. The human brain is built for connection, for response, for the confirmation that we exist in the eyes of others. It is not a weakness. It is biology. But biology can be used against people. When you remove your attention from someone completely, no anger, no explanation, no dramatic exit, just absence, their mind cannot process it cleanly. It searches for a reason. It replays conversations, analyses words, looks for the moment everything shifted. They will think about you more in your silence than they ever did when you were present. You haunt them without trying. You occupy their thoughts without effort. And you did it by doing absolutely nothing. This is not manipulation for the sake of cruelty. This is understanding the mechanics of the human mind and refusing to be the one they are used against. Weak men beg for attention. Powerful men make their absence felt. Most people confuse two completely different things, being unavailable and being strategically withdrawn. One is accidental, the other is intentional. One signals emptiness, the other signals elevation. The man who is strategically withdrawn is not hiding. He is selecting. He moves through the world with his energy held close, like a blade kept sheathed until the moment it is actually needed. He does not pour himself into every conversation. He does not engage with every provocation. He does not scatter his presence across people who haven't earned it. And because of this, when he does appear, when he does speak, when he does give his attention, people feel it. Because rare things always carry weight. You have been too available. Available to people who drain you. Available to arguments that diminish you. Available to noise that pulls you away from everything that actually matters. Stop. Let the messages wait. Let the calls go. Let people wonder. The mystery you create by simply pulling back is more powerful than anything you could say. There are people in your life right now who do not deserve a single word from you. And you know exactly who they are. The ones who work against you quietly, who celebrate your failures privately while congratulating you publicly. When you respond to these people, you make them important. You signal to everyone watching that they have the power to disturb you. But when you look through them, when their words land and you do not even blink, you communicate something that cannot be faked, that they are irrelevant. And irrelevance is the one thing people with small minds cannot survive. Then there are the critics, the permanent audience, the ones who have never built anything but have opinions about everything you build. Here is the only truth you need about critics. They cannot hurt what they cannot reach. And the moment you stop reaching back, they cannot reach you. Let them talk. Let them type. Let them gather in their circles and say whatever they need to say. None of it touches you unless you pick it up. So stop picking it up. The hardest part of all of this has nothing to do with other people. It has everything to do with you. Because the instinct to react is not weakness, it is human. When someone disrespects you, something ancient inside you fires, something that says, defend yourself, prove them wrong, make them understand. That instinct kept your ancestors alive. But in the modern world, it keeps you small, because every reaction you give is a confession. It confesses that they reached you. It confesses that their opinion of you matters. It confesses that they have power inside your mind. The discipline required to override that instinct is not natural. It must be built, one provocation at a time, one moment of stillness chosen over one moment of reaction. You will fail sometimes. You will react when you intended to stay silent. You will explain when you intended to say nothing. That is not failure. That is the process. Every time you catch yourself, every time you feel the fire and choose stone instead, you become slightly harder to reach, slightly more sovereign, slightly more untouchable, until one day someone throws everything they have at you, and you look at them with complete, genuine calm. Not because you are performing it, but because you have simply moved somewhere they cannot follow. Here is the dynamic that governs every relationship, every negotiation, every social interaction. The person who needs less holds more. This is not cynical. It is simply true. In relationships, the one who stops chasing becomes the one being chased. In business, the man who can walk away from any deal wins every deal. In social settings, the person who does not need the room's approval becomes the person the room cannot stop watching. When you need nothing from people, you become the most interesting person they have ever encountered. Because everyone around them is performing, competing, seeking, and then there is you, still, unbothered, complete. It is magnetic in a way that cannot be manufactured. It can only be earned by actually doing the work of needing less. The deepest trap, the one that destroys more potential than any external enemy ever could, is caring what people think. You wake up and wonder if they liked what you said. You go to sleep replaying the conversation, looking for signs of approval or rejection. You change your words before you speak them, editing yourself for an audience that is barely paying attention. This is not self-awareness. This is a prison, and the warden is other people's opinions. Machiavelli understood this completely. The leader who governs by seeking to be loved will eventually be controlled by the threat of being hated. His decisions stop being strategic. They become desperate, and desperate leaders fall. The need for approval was installed in you early. Rewarded behavior, gold stars, validation from people whose own validation was never guaranteed. You were taught to measure your worth through external mirrors. Breaking that habit is the most important work you will ever do. Because the man who does not need approval cannot be controlled. You cannot bribe him with compliments. You cannot threaten him with criticism. He moves from something internal that does not shift based on what anyone thinks. That is not arrogance. That is freedom. Everything leads here, to the version of you that cannot be reached by people who wish to drain you, diminish you, or distract you from what you are building. This person walks differently, not with arrogance, not with performance, with a quiet that tells people, without a single word, that he has seen through something they haven't seen yet. He doesn't compete for attention, because he knows it will come. He doesn't argue with people beneath him, because silence is always the superior answer. He doesn't chase anyone, because he has built something worth coming to. This is not coldness, this is selectivity. Warmth reserved for the worthy. Words reserved for moments that matter. energy reserved for the work that builds something real. Everything else receives nothing from this moment forward. You respond only when it serves your purpose. You explain yourself to no one who has not earned the explanation. You chase nothing and no one. You let your results speak in the language that people who matter actually understand. The people who once pulled your strings will notice the change. They will test it, push against it, try everything to pull you back into the old patterns. You will not move, because you will finally understand what they never will. Your attention is the most expensive thing you own, and you have just stopped giving it away for free.